Hey, Blender Bob here. Guess what? I have a Discord server. Hey, did you know that Blender Bob has a Discord server? Really? Blender Bob has a Discord server? Yes, he does. Really? Blender Bob has a Discord server. I'm impressed. Yeah, I changed clothes. Yeah, I changed clothes twice to do this stupid joke. Okay, so I do have a server. I'm trying to promote it on this board, but I don't know. I bumped it, but I cannot find it when I do a search. It seems to be quite complicated. If you know how it works, please tell me in the comments. I do put a link in the comment for the to join in an invitation, but these expire after 6 hours. I don't know how to make it permanent. If you know anything about Discord servers, please let me know. I know how to use it, but how to set it up, nah. So last weekend on Facebook, because I'm also on Facebook, but that's easy to find. It's a search for Blender Bob, you'll find me. So last week on Facebook, I posted this image that I did just for fun. If you are from my generation, you probably know that this is an Eagle spaceship from Space 1999. It was a TV series from the 70s, just before Star Wars. Some people ask me, can you show us how you model stuff from scratch? And I thought that could be a good idea. But the eagle you see on the picture, I didn't model it myself. I found it somewhere on the web. I just wanted to make a pretty picture just for fun, because I'm a fan of the show. And it's not because I cannot model it myself. It's actually a very easy model to make. And I made one actually in 1999. But that could be a good example of, starting a model from scratch, because it's a very easy model to do. And for some of you, starting modeling in Blender, that could be very cool. So let's give it a try. This is the model we're going to rebuild, but we're going to make it as a subdivision surface, and it's going to be actually better than the original. A lot of repeating parts also. This part here is just a bunch of cylinders. I'm not going to waste time on this. We're going to concentrate on other parts. Okay, so let's start with this part here, this sphere. So how do we make a sphere? Let me show you. What we do is we start with a cube. I will just make sure it's on top of the other one. And we're going to add a subdivision modifier. We'll crank it up a little bit, but not too much. Let's say 3 is enough. You can remove the optimal display if you want to really see the geometry. Now, if you take a look at it, you will see that it's not exactly a sphere. It's not that round. So if I scale it down, you can see the corners here. It just doesn't fit. So we're going to fix it by using another modifier. It's going to be a cast modifier. We will adjust the factor just to make it perfectly spherical. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm using the modifier add-on. I think it comes with Blender, so I can apply them all together at the same time. Okay, so we got our sphere. Now, some of you probably think this guy is completely crazy. I mean, why would you make a sphere from a cube? You already have a sphere right there. This is stupid. This guy doesn't know anything about hard surface modeling. Well, let me tell you something. I work in the VFX industry, and what do we do in the VFX industry? We smash stuff, we distort stuff, we modify stuff, and we crash stuff. And in Space 1999, the Eagles, they crashed a lot. Let's say we apply a displacement on it, just as an example to distort it. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to add a displace modifier. I'm going to just create a texture, any new texture here. And let's say a muscle-graph texture. Now you see it's all distorted. I'm going to copy the modifier on this one, Control L, modifier. Now I got the same modifier on the other one. You see the little 2 button here? If I click on it, it's going to make it an independent texture, so it's not going to affect the other one. So now I can modify it without affecting the first sphere. Okay, now you can already see the difference. This one here has a pole and doesn't look very good. And let's subdivide this one a little bit more so we get a better idea of what it can look like. And then I need to maybe smooth shade it. Well, first I need to select it before I smooth shade it. Select it, smooth shade it. All right. So you see, you get something that's much more consistent with the other one. Also, the one I made from the cube is going to be easier to texture because we can do the UVs according to the original cube, and we're going to have much less distortion because we won't have to deal with that pole again. So don't anyone dare to tell me I don't know what I'm doing. Now we're going to do this tank here. Very simple to do. We're going to start from the sphere that we had already, and we're going to cut it in half. So to do this, we're going to go in face mode. You need to be in wire or in X-ray mode to be able to select all of them from both sides, to go through this. Now we're going to do a separate selection. It's not going to create a new object. It's still the same object. It's just separated in two. So now I can take these polygons and move them away, just like that. And now we're going to select the edges here. So we're going to use the shift option to select the entire loop here, and same thing on the other side. And we're going to go bridge edge loop, and that's going to connect them together. Next step is just an extrude, and we're going to use extrude along normals. So we're going to scale it up a little bit like this, and here we go. If we shade it, it doesn't look that good, so we're just going to go here on the little triangle here, and we're going to set auto smooth at 30 degrees. Now it looks better. Okay, let's add a bevel modifier. So bevel, now you want to make sure that your bevel modifier goes before the subdivision surface. The subdivision surface comes from the sphere that I did before. So I'm just going to reduce the bevel here a little bit, make it 2 segments. That's enough, that's all we need. And now we can get something that looks pretty cool, but there's still something here that looks strange and normals don't react well. So we're gonna add a weight normal modifier, and this way we fix the issue. When I start modeling something, I always start with the most primitive shape that looks like my object, and in this case it's obviously a torus. What? Yeah, it's a torus. We don't need that many divisions, so maybe just 12 by 8 should be good enough. So 12 by 8. Okay, a little rotation in X. I know there are other ways to rotate in Blender, but I remap my keyboard so much that it doesn't work for me anymore. Okay, so let's do this shape here. We're gonna just move it a little bit out of the way, and we're gonna separate it like we did before. So I'm gonna select this half here, and I'm gonna separate it. I'm using custom pie menus here that are created with Pie Menu Editor, which is an add-on that allows you to create your own pie menus. But this is the same thing we did before with the sphere. It's just separate. So I'm separating the torus in 4 parts, and just like we did with the sphere previously, I'm just going to connect the edges with the bridge tool. And I also have hotkeys for this, so I'm not showing you in the menu what I'm doing because we already did it. I added some edge loops on top and bottom, and now I can select these polygons and just delete them because I don't need them. So this one, and delete. Okay, now if I add a subdivision modifier on this, you will see that the shape changes a little bit. So here we go, subdivision surface. If we look at it from the side view, you can see it's not perfectly straight. So we're going to add some edge loops here using the loop cut tool. Again, I'm using my custom made pie menus. I press 5 here to get 5 divisions. I'm going to do the same thing on the side and add a few more on top and bottom also. Alright, let's take a look at it in shaded view. We're going to add the shade smooth. And if we want to put a thickness to it, well, we just need to, I was just thinking about the subtitles, people who use the subtitles, how it's going to translate these. Okay, so I added a solidify modifier to give it a thickness. Then I can make some changes. Of course, we want the auto smooth on. I could go back to my modifier. Now I get a better view of what I'm doing. So this is only good if you want to destroy the model and you want to see the interior of the pipe. Otherwise, you don't need to do the solidify modifier. When you model something, please take the habit of always modeling stuff aligned on the axis. It's much easier. It's much faster to do it this way. You can always move it later the way you want it. So in this case, if I want to move this in the center, what I'm going to do is just select one vertices. And if you press Shift S, you will get a pie menu, and then you can choose cursor to selected. So your 3D cursor is now at this point. After this, you can select your object and go to set origin to 3D cursor. So now when you move your object, it's going to be from this origin. But because I customized my Blender like crazy, I made a pie menu that does it automatically for me in just one step. Okay, so now you snap the grid on. You want to make sure you're on absolute grid, and you can place the object in the center, just align it. It's already good on the top view. All right, let's keep moving. When we look at this part, it's obviously a cylinder that's been distorted and modified. So we're going to start with a cylinder, just do a little rotation in 90 degree in Y. Now I'm going to scale it down and just place it in the right position. Now when I do something, I like to be very precise the way I do it. So what I'm going to do is just snap the points on the original geometry. So I just select the points, the vertices, and then I turn on the snap to vertex and I move the points horizontally so that they snap where I want them. And what I did in my case is I made a hotkey that when I press the letter X, it's going to turn on the snap to vertices automatically, and when I release the X, it's going to turn off the snap. So no, I don't use X to delete objects like in Blender by default, and that's why I'm not showing you all the hotkeys I'm using, because I customized my Blender too much. Now I'm going to take this face here and I'm just going to extrude it all the way to the end here. Now I'm going to scale it to reach the edge here. Good. Okay, the next step is to insert a bunch of edge loops here to get more resolution. So in my case, it's like a two-step thing, but so loop tool, put it 5 division, that should be okay for now. And then I'm going to scale each of these loops to match the original geometry. So again, you press Shift Option to select the entire loop and you scale it. So let's do this for all of them. Some of the edge loops will not be exactly where I need them, but you can use the slide edge function or tool, call it whatever you want, to just move it where you want it. So I want it exactly here. So now what I'm going to do is to add more edge loops where the grooves are. Now in face mode, you're going to select all the rows here that we want to make the grooves, and you just select the edge between 2 polygons and you press Shift Option, it's going to select the entire loop. And you do an extrude normal again, so it's just, just scale it a little bit like this, and that should be fine for what we need. Another way to do this is to select your edges, you bevel them, and then you just extrude normals. Okay, we can get rid of this polygon at the end, we don't need it anymore, and we're going to add a solidify modifier to give it a thickness. So solidify, and we're going to adjust it a little bit. So whoop, we can see there's a problem here in the center. There's something wrong with my original geometry. So how am I going to figure it out? Well, I'm just going to turn off the modifier and just look at my geometry. Okay, so it's around in this area. I'm going to select one point here, and no, this one is good. What about this one here? Yeah, that's the one. I have a double edge here. So I'm just going to select it and delete it and see if it works. So delete, and now let's try the modifier again if I turn it back on. And everything looks good. All right, so we're done with this one. Well, we're not done. We're going to do the same thing as the other one. We're going to add a bevel modifier and a subdivision modifier. Okay, let's try this part here. So I will isolate it and I'm going to work on top of it. Well, this is a cube. Yeah, we're going to start with a cube for this one. So cube, and we're going to center it like we did before. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into wire mode, and I'm just going to move the point and snap them on the edges like we did previously, with the snap turned on here for the vertices, and I just move it to snap like this on the edges of the geometry. Now we're going to bevel the corners. So we can select all the edges here one by one. There's only 4, it goes pretty fast. But what if we had a lot of them? There's an easier way to do it. You just select one of the edges and you go in the menu and the select loops and you go select ring. So right here, select edge ring. I made a hotkey for it because I use it all the time. Okay, time to bevel. So bevel, just move it a little bit, and here we go, we got the corners. All right, let's isolate this part for now. We're going to cut the top and bottom polygons, and the way we're going to do this is to select the vertices in vertex mode and just press the letter J to connect them together. So J, 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 and you keep going like this all the way around from the top and from the bottom. All right, let's turn back on the original geometry right here. And we just need to scale the 2 polygons in the center until we reach, the original geometry. So these 2 here, we're just going to scale them. So like this, I go scale and I move them up. So scale like this. There we go. This part is done. Actually, it's not done. There's a groove at the bottom that we need to do also. So let's isolate the geometry again. I'm just going to take just what I need and isolate these parts here. So this one and my original geometry. Let's isolate this. The way to isolate geometry is to go in the view menu, then you go down to local view and you toggle local view. And you can do the same thing to bring it back. Okay, we need a cube. So we're going to go into the add menu, mesh, and we're going to add a cube. Let's place it at the right place. A little bit of adjustment on this side. Here we go, vertex mode, select, snap, move. Okay, now we're going to select the 4 edges here, not the 4 edges, the 4 sides of the cube here, and we're going to extrude them. But this time it's going to be a different extrude. We're going to go extrude individual. So when we do this, they all go in their separate ways and they are not connected together. So it creates a cross like this. If we did the extrude in normal mode like we did before, this is what we would get. And this is not working because we want a cross. So individual. All right, now it's a little bit too thick. I forgot to adjust it vertically, so let's do this right now. And now it's the moment of joy for all your Boolean lovers. We're gonna Boolean one part with the other one. So let's make the original invisible. We're gonna take this part here and we're gonna subtract this one, a difference. So we're gonna create a Boolean. It's already in difference, select the cross, and that's it. It's cut. If I make this invisible, you can see I got the geometry I'm looking for. Another way you can do the boolean is to use the bool tool add-on. It comes with Blender, I think, and you just select the one that's going to cut, then you select the object that you want to cut, and you do Control minus on the keypad, and it's going to do the boolean for you. So you don't need the modifier, it's going to create it for you. You select this one, minus on the keypad, and you see the original part becomes a cube here. But it's the same thing, it just creates a modifier, it just does it for you. You don't want to delete it, you want to apply it, and then you can get rid of the original geometry. Now, some of you knows me very well and they will say, but you have a triangle here and you have an end gun here and that's not good. You said all quads all the time. No, not all quads all the time. Only if you distort the geometry, if you break it apart, which is probably going to be the case for the eagle because, we modeled the sphere at the beginning so that we can distort it. So this is how we would do it here to make it all quads. I would just cut all these edges here using J again. And then I would add a subdivision modifier because every time you subdivide something, there are no more triangles, there are no more end guns, but you make it simple here. And if you remove the optimal display, you can see everything is a quad now. We don't have any more end guns. Whoops, here I didn't do this side, but it's a modifier. It's okay, it's not too late. I can select these edges here and just press J and cut them. Okay, let's add the details. This little round thing here, it needs to be flat with the other surface. This time we're going to use a regular UV sphere because of the topology. This is what we need. So we're going to delete the bottom half and we're going to delete the top part also here, just like this, delete. And now with this polygon that we have here, we're just going to extrude it. And then we're going to do an inset on it, inset right here. And then we're going to extrude it again a little bit more, go down. I have a prime menu for this and it's done. And now we need to add 6 hexagonal parts on top. So I'm going to create a cylinder and I'm just going to use 6 sides on the cylinder. So mesh add, we want a cylinder. I'm getting tired, I'm sorry. And we're going to put 6 divisions here. And now we got our screw kind of. From now on, I'm just going to move into vertex mode from this point here because I want to vertex mode here because I want to keep the pivot while the origin in the center. So now I'm moving it, you see, as vertices, not as an object. So where is this supposed to go? It's a little bit too low, so let's bring it back up. This is a little bit too high. Okay, and it's not exactly where I need it, so I'm just going to move it a little bit more. Okay, that should be good. Now I need to do, well, usually you would say an array modifier, a circular one, but the array modifier is way too complex to use for something like this, and there's this free add-on called Array Tools, and it's absolutely mind-blowing. You can do anything you want with it, and you don't need to create another object and this and that. No. It's very simple. You just put the rotation, the amount that you want, and that's it. It's going to do it for you. It's absolutely awesome. Go get it. Link in the description. Let's combine all these objects together in object mode just by pressing the letter J. And we do the same as always, so smooth surface, auto smooth, bevel modifier, and subdivision modifier. If you want to get rid of this end gun here, you can just simply delete it. Then you select the edges and you're going to do a grid fill. So select all the edges. Again, you press the shift option. You do your grid fill. It's in the face menu. And now you get this here. But, it could be better. It's I don't like the way the topology is done when you do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into sculpt mode. Sculpt mode. We're going to create a face set from this selection. So this is your face set. We're going to make a mask and we're going to turn on face set and face set boundary. So this way, when we smooth the surface, we're only going to affect this part. All right, let's keep going. In order to put our geometry at the right place on the right angle, what we're going to do is to turn on the snap, but we're going to do snap to face and we're going to do the center and we want to do align rotation to target. So when I move the geometry, you can see that it's going to align with the polygon it's over. So just like here, I'm going to scale it down a little bit, just like that. And then to move it, if you look at it, the axes are aligned on a global. So you want local here so that the axes are aligned with the geometry. Whoops, don't forget to turn off your snap here. So now when you're local, you can move it properly in the right angle and just scale it, move it, and you're done. Okay, next part is going to be the landing gear, landing foot, landing, call it whatever you want. We're going to start with a cube. Scale it, scale it, scale it. And now we can see that the surface is divided in 3. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use our loop tool and we're going to cut it into 3 sections. So loop tool, and I'm going to press 2 to cut it in 3 parts. Here we go. Now we're going to select these edges here and we're going to extrude them in normal mode. I say we, sometimes I say I. Maybe it's because I used to teach and I'm talking like if I was talking to students live in a course. Okay, so extrude a normal. All right, we do the same thing with these parts here. So extrude, 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 normals up. All right, now what we need to do, I'll move it up a little bit. What we need to do is to select these edges that we don't need, and we're just gonna delete them. Select, 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 and delete. So if you can do this part, you can do the rest of it. It's the same thing. Okay, so let's work on the door. What a mess. Okay, let's isolate it. Okay, so we're going to clean it up a little bit because there's just too much stuff in there. So we're going to use a decimate, and planar. Okay, it's much nicer. Actually, we could use it just like that, but the idea is to see how we can build it. Well, guess what? We're going to start with a cube and we're going to match the edges. You know the drill. Now let's take a look at the original surface. It's kind of divided in 5 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do the same thing with our cube. So we're going to delete the front and the back faces because we don't need them. Delete. And then we're going to use the loop cut tool to insert edges. So we're going to divide it by 4. That's going to give us 5 surfaces. And I'm going to do this for all 4 faces. From this point, what we're going to do is just scale all the points to match the original geometry. Sometimes we will need to move them, but you see how it works. So you can see the method I'm using here. I'm not trying to draw a curve around and then extrude it and everything. No, I go with some geometry that I cut and then I scale. It's a different way of thinking. And this comes with experience. The more you model, the more you get used to these tricks and stuff, the way to work. So you see, I'm just scaling and moving stuff. I'm not creating a line around it. I'm just moving points. Obviously, when you model something, there's always multiple ways to do it, and I try to find the most efficient way every time I do something. And now I will snap the points to get the right thickness. For the second layer, it's very similar to the first one, so I'm just going to make a copy of the first one using Ctrl D, and I'm going to scale it up a little bit. And again, I'm going to adjust the points by moving them and scaling them. Okay, so we're going to isolate these 2 parts to see what we are doing. And now we need to do the front faces and the back faces of these objects. Actually, we just need the front face, but anyways. 2 ways you can do this. You can go into face mode, select the entire thing and press F. It's going to cover both the front and the back. But we don't need the back. We don't see it, so we can just delete this part. Another way to do it is to select edges. Whoops, on the other part. Select the edges, the entire thing by using a shift option. It's going to select the entire loop and you press F and it's going to cover it, but it's not going to do the back. I have 2 extra edges I don't need, so I'm just going to delete them, select and delete. At this point, I want to bevel the corners like we did before, so I use my hotkey to select the entire edge ring. Remember we talked about this before. Now it's done, I can just bevel it a little bit, so I'm going to just bevel it like this and put 4 divisions. Always use an even number, not an odd number. There's a reason for that, but that's in advanced modeling. Just trust me on this one, okay? So we're going to do the same thing for this one. Select the edge, I use my hotkey, tunk, and I bevel. Same thing, 4 divisions, that should be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we are done with this part. Well, the back part of the door is just a cube. I think you know how to make a cube. This is an interesting one, so I'm going to isolate it and okay, let's take a look at it. It's all circles, right? So maybe we could start with a circle, not a cylinder. We're just going to start with a circle and you will see why. So I'm going to rotate it and put it into position. Okay, a little scale here. Let's go on the side view, the other side. All right, scale it down a little bit. All right, that looks good. I will select the bottom part of the circle and I'm going to separate it the same way we did the separate before with the sphere. So separate, of course I got my custom marking menus, you know about this, and I'm going to move it down a little bit. I will select these vertices and I will do a rotation of 90 degrees in the Z-axis. You can press Ctrl if you want to snap at every 90 degrees increments. Then I just need to align it with the original circle. You can see that my snap to vertices is on. I duplicate these curves, Ctrl D, and I just snap it again. We're going to do the same thing on top. We're going to select all our points and we're going to move them to align them with the bottom circles. Duplicate again and I move it aligned. Alright, now everything is in place. Select all these vertices and press F to create a face. But for the ones in the bottom, we're going to select them both and we're going to bridge them. So you need to select them as edges, not as objects. So we're going to go into edges, double click, and then you do your bridge and you get this surface here. In object mode, select all three objects and press J to combine them together. Now we're going to go into edge mode, we're going to select these and we're going to bridge them together. Alright, we're getting really close now. If we go into face mode and we extrude them along normals, we may run into a little problem. So I will go there and choose extrude along normals and I do my extrusion and woo, something is not working well here. Why? That's because some faces have the normals inverted. So this is not good. So we need to fix it. How we're going to do it? We're just going to select these two faces here and we're going to flip their normals. I get a hotkey for that, of course. And now if I do my extrusion, you will see it works perfectly. Okay, I'll do it from the inside because I started from the outside and I can just flip all the normals. You want to make sure everything is blue. Blue is good, red is bad. If you wonder how I turned on these colors, you just go in this little pop-up here and you just turn on the face orientation. That's how you do it, right there. And to flip the normals, you just select your polygons, you go in mesh, normals, flip. Sorry, sometimes I forget I'm doing a tutorial. We need to make the central part of the ship, but I realized as I was doing the tutorial that there's nothing there that I haven't shown you before. There are no new techniques in there, so I will let you be creative and try to figure it out by yourself. Yeah, I'm evil that way. Okay, this tutorial is starting to get very long, so maybe we should keep this part for next week. But look, I'm already showing you how to do the topology for this shape. And also, I have a little gift for you guys. Yeah! It's a Blender file with all the blueprints already in place, ready for you to model. Now, if you expect me to give you the entire model, forget about it. You need to learn how to do it by yourself. Millenniums, right? Okay, now probably nobody will download this file and give it a shot. Maybe some will do and we'll try a little bit and then we'll say, it's too complicated. Well, if that's the case, maybe 3D is not for you because that's actually a very easy model to do. And I think nobody will do this because I gave you this incredible cookie recipe some months ago and nobody sent me a comment to say, I tried your cookie and they were the best cookies in the world. Nobody, not a single person tried my cookies. And they are very good. I made some yesterday. I'm sorry, I gotta go. I told you, they are the best cookies in the world. Why am I telling you this? Because I needed some time for these two things here. And yeah, I changed my clothes again. Why? No reason. Sometimes I wonder if people watch Blenderbot for the first time. Some of you guys probably think, this guy is completely insane. I'm okay.